played pretty much in bar bands from the age of 15, playing in like a lot of people in clubs I wasn't supposed to be in,
Mm-hmm.
2 or 3 days a week until I was probably 25. So for about 10 years, I made my living as a guitar player, lead guitar player kind of thing. And this was back in, I'm, you know, 47. So this was in the days of the, grunge and Pearl Jam and Alice in Chains and all of that. So we were very much in that vein as a lot of people were, but made a
Mm-hmm.
pretty decent living 3 or 4 or 5 days a week eventually gigging. And but I was also like managing grocery stores and doing day job stuff, right? I didn't have any aspiration of ever even recording albums. Like it's interesting to think back on now. I wasn't trying to be an artist. I was just enjoying drinking a lot, making money, and playing in bars, and being a kid. So that's kind
Mm-hmm.
of how I got started. And I knew nothing about music technology at all. I couldn't set a guitar up. I didn't know anything about recording it all. I mean, I'd bought a couple 4 tracks, but it was mostly my friends that were messing around with that. So it got to the point, like I said, where I was about 25 and I've been doing this for about 10 years. And it was, I've said this before, it's like I needed to go to rehab or go to college. So I decided, I would go to college. Right. And I randomly looked up, like, I didn't know how to use it. I was like a savant with computers when I was a kid. My parents bought Apple computers like in the early 80s, like so
Mm-hmm.
before a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people had them, and I'd done programming and built stuff, and I'd lost all of that for a big chunk of my life. So I was largely computer illiterate at this point. But anyway, long story short, I found a music technology program online because I didn't want to go to school for jazz and I didn't want to go to school for classical stuff. Yeah, but so
Mm-hmm.
music tech recording seemed to kind of be something that was adjacent. And I ended up at University of North Carolina at Asheville at about the age of 26 and got my undergrad there, and then eventually went to grad school. And that kind of launched me into the wider music industry, kind of going to school and becoming a professor first. So I really, not to be long winded, but I came into the music industry ass backwards, where it was like I started as a bar band guy. Then I went to
Mm-hmm.
college for 7 years, right, to get my master's of fine arts in music technology, began
Mm-hmm.
teaching while I was in school, and then started working professionally later based upon the people that I met while I was teaching. It's how I met Adrian Ballou, who was kind of my really the funnel for me into the music industry.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. So much to unpack there. And I completely irrelevant to most people, but Charleston, South Carolina. Did you go to Ye Old
Yeah.
Music Shop?
Oh my
Do you know
God,
Michael down there?
dude. Yes, I've been. He probably want to kick me out of his shop numerous times. I have not heard the name Yield Music Shop in a long time. So, but
Yeah,
yes, I
yeah,
was.
yeah.
That's crazy.
Part of my background is I literally went everywhere with guitars, and so I've been in more than 600 guitar shops in the U.S. alone.
Jesus.
Every
Okay.
state, every province in Canada, much of Europe, and so, anyways, every town reminds me of some guitar shop. And
Some
anyways,
guitar shop. I love it.
Michael was a nice guy. I like Michael and the
Yeah.
old music shop. Anyways, and Asheville, you went from
Yeah.
there to Asheville, which is a great city also, and a good arts community
Great
there
city.
also.
Yeah,
Yeah,
love,
yeah, yeah.
love, still love Asheville. Haven't been back for a minute, and then ended up from Asheville to just outside of Nashville in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, where MTSU,
Yeah.
Middle Tennessee State, is, which is like a 30,000 student school that I'd never even heard of at the time, the biggest school in that
Hmm.
state, and have a pretty well regarded music program that I again went to for grad school and started. They offered me a deal I couldn't refuse, which was, we'll pay for your tuition and give you some money every month if you like teach a couple classes. And I was petrified on stage. I was petrified performing on stage for years. I would perform with my back to the audience as the lead guitar player for a big chunk of my
Really?
career. People actually thought I was, like, when I was young, right? I got over that
Yeah.
obviously when I got into my 20s, but people
Uh-huh.
thought I was like Ty Tabor. So I was like being very mysterious about what I was doing when I was just nervous. So it became like this kind of interesting vibe that whatever I created unintentionally. But anyway, so yeah, that's I
Yeah.
ended up in Tennessee and was in Tennessee for about 10 years, again, where I met Ballou and a number of other artists, and then eventually made my way out to Los Angeles, which that's where I am right now. And I'm, we've talked about, I'm splitting time between in here, West Hollywood. I've got a studio on Sunset Strip just behind the Whiskey A Go Go, and then recently bought a place in Las Vegas. So I'm getting my studio Atmos room and all that kind of stuff set up there.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah,
That's
it's been
great.
cool.
Yeah, yeah. And so you spent time teaching. You spent time working then, I presume, in Murfreesboro and the Nashville-ish sort of scene overall, or?
No, strangely enough, man,
No?
like, I have such a weird yeah, my journey is
One of
so
the biggest
everyone's journey
recording
is weird.
markets in the world.
Did
And
nothing in Nashville,
didn't happen.
nothing in Nashville.
Wow.
So well, I never tried. So basically what happened is, and, whether this is interesting or not, it's like I was, again, teaching college there, right? Teaching kids how to make music, even though, I'd been doing it as an amateur creator, but not somebody like,
Yeah.
on really a serious professional level. And I would rent studios in Nashville all the time and take my students there, and we'd learn large format consoles. I mean, we went all over the city, so that was vibey. But I didn't really work in those studios because I wasn't working in country music predominantly, especially
Mhm.
this 15 years ago, or Christian music or anything like that. It's when I went to
Yeah.
Adrian. That Adrian Blue has a studio just outside of Nashville in Mount Juliet, and I basically built, came in as a guitar. It's a long story, but came in as a guitar tech,
Mhm.
moved up to building his studio, became his engineer, became his co-producer on everything over the years, and predominantly worked with one artist the entire time I was in Nashville, or artists maybe he was producing that I was involved with. So it was largely
Mhm.
we could have been anywhere in the world. Like, it had nothing to do with us actually being in Nashville, Tennessee, which is weird because Nashville, of course, as you said, is like a
Yeah.
massive hub for music that I was
Yeah.
largely not involved in.
Yeah. Oh,
So I
that's
was doing
amazing.
progressive rock in Nashville.
Yeah, but there's lots of I mean, I know Nashville's known for
Sure.
country, but there's lots of progressive rock bands that Thank you for watching and listening. You can find more episodes wherever you listen to your podcasts. And a special thanks to those who support us on Patreon. It's your support that enables us to do this work.